As we wait for our count to be taken and everything to be picked up, take a few minutes to read through your annual report. The minutes are the congregational meeting, which were published on page 4 for the annual report.
Okay, good news. We do have a quorum, so thank you everybody for being here. And so if we have anybody online, they'll just be extra. So that is great. Are we set online, Jennifer? So we are live streaming right now on the website. And if you are on the website watching this, if you have a question or a vote to bring in on Facebook, on our Facebook page is a Gmail address that we want you to send those questions to, and that is First Lutheran 1525 at gmail.com, and that would be on Facebook, on the Facebook page, that you can click on that to send in a comment if you've got a comment. Because on the web stream, there is no place to make comments. I think we're good on that.
Okay, I declare our annual meeting of the First Lutheran Church shall now come to order. Let's take a moment for a prayer, please. Lord, another year has come and gone, and once again we gather for the annual meeting of this congregation. We come to you this hour asking for your blessings and help as we are gathered together. We pray for guidance in the matters at hand and ask that you would clearly show us how to conduct our work with a spirit of joy and enthusiasm. In this time together, we celebrate the many gifts that we have been provided. Give us the desire to find ways to excel in our work. Help us to work together and encourage each other through excellence. We ask that we would challenge each other to reach higher and farther, to be the best we can be, to glorify your holy name. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, today you see we have a couple of mics up front. And because we are live streaming this meeting, we would ask that anyone who wishes to address the meeting, please come forward to one of the two microphones so that we can all hear you. Please state your name, and then you may speak. We'll start with the approval of the agenda. In your annual reports, you have a proposed agenda for this meeting. Please turn to page 3 of your annual report. Is there any discussion on the agenda? If there is none, I would attend an approval of the agenda. Yes, if you have something to speak, please come forward.
Is it on? It's very minor, but in this it says our annual meeting last year was February 10th, 2018. It would have been 19, the meeting last year.
Thank you. You're correct. Finger might hit at the wrong key. Is there any other discussion to the agenda? Can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Please stand and state your name so we know. Do I have a second? Thank you. I could hear that one. We have a motion made and seconded to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay, I would now call on Gary Peters to give the financial report, which begins on page 28 of your annual report. Gary? Say what? Okay. We need an approval of the minutes from last year's meeting. You have a motion? We have a motion made to approve the minutes. Second? Okay, we have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Sorry, Gary.
Now it's my turn. I have the mic, so I must digress. I appreciate your attention to detail. It's tax season. Do you need a job? We need detail people like you. Good job. I like that. And Archie, I have to say something about you every year. You know, my kids got to know you. If you remember, I don't know, over the last couple of years, we had some of these give and takes, and one of them was God talking. Do you remember? You remember who God was? My kids would look around and wonder where that voice was coming, because there'd be dialogue going on, and all of a sudden God would say, I know. That's how my kids got to know you, Archie. So, but anyway, what a good voice. Didn't he have a good voice? Can anybody not hear him? Okay, good. So you're in charge. Good. All right, financials. I would want you to turn to page 31. Let's start there. This is what's called the balance sheet. This is what we have and what we owe. Okay? What we have, if you see the checking accounts, and it's really one checking account made up of a bunch of components, and then one savings account. If you total those up, it's $333,000. So that's what we have sitting in reserve, our rainy day fund, in case we ever have any significant problems. Okay? We've been blessed not to have to tap that for a while, but it's a nice reserve to have as we go forward. Okay? Then if you go down about 7, 8 lines from the bottom, you'll see construction loan, United Community Bank. And if we were in Kiwanis, I'd ask for a fine, Todd, but that's okay, I'm not going to do that today. I mentioned your bank, all right? But we have a loan, and at the end of the year, that balance is $326,000, approximately. Our goal for this year, 2020, is to have that loan paid off. You say, wow. That's a big number. We've already received an anonymous gift of $40,000. That's exciting. That's a good step forward. If we make our 12 regular mortgage payments, which is approximately $13,000 a month, that's $144,000 that will be applied to principal. So you take the 144 and the 40, we're down to $142,000. That sounds better. Because if you want to flip then 2 pages back to page, hopefully if they're in order, that would be 33. About halfway down in the revenue, do you see the fundraiser income? Everybody see that line? What was the amount for 2018? 151,000? What was the amount for 2019? 148,000? And how much do we need? 142,000. If we all do our part, all contribute as we have in the past, we can make it. And it will be fun. Because how much money, when we get the mortgage paid off, does that free up for us to do other, more important things with our money than pay interest? How much does that free up every year? Turn to the next page. About 5 lines from the bottom. What's our budgeted annual mortgage payments? How much? $160,000. You think we could do some neat stuff with $160,000 that we don't have to pay on our mortgage anymore? Wow, we have a couple committees already set up, coming up ways where we can serve the Lord, spending that money in very significant ways as opposed to paying our mortgage off. So that's the exciting part. So that's looking forward to 2021, but let's accept the challenge for 2020 to get that mortgage paid off during this year, okay? All right, so how did we do for 2019? Let's go back a page to page 33 at the top. About a third of the way down, our total income category. For 2019 actual, it would be the middle column of the 5. We had total receipts of what? 987,000? And that included our fundraiser of 148. If you take that out, for just regular budget purposes, we raised 839,000. What was our budget? Next to it, column on the left. 870. So we were about 30,000 short of what we'd have needed to meet this year's budget. But the good news is, when you total up all the expenses, our expenses were under budget by $20,000. So when we're all said and done, we were within $10,000 of making our budget. So that cash balance we referred to before, the reserve, we tapped into that by $10,000. Okay? So I think that's very good on a $700,000 or an $870,000 budget. When you can come within 10, I think that worked out very, very well. Okay, just a couple of highlights in there that we'll talk about that happened in 19. Turn to page 34. We can talk about the totals. Outreach, if we're looking at column 2 and column 3, that's comparing our budget for this year to what we actually spent. You can see that we were a little under. That's one area we were under by about $6,000. The next category is discipleship and education. Again, there we were under budget by about $10,000, and a big chunk of that was the Stevens Ministry. We did not send people out to get special training. That may come up again in the future, but we did not do that during this year. So that's where we saved the money there. And always the fun one to talk about is building and grounds. If you want to look there, that total column at the bottom of the page, 251 budgeted, 235 actual. 16,000 under budget. That's always good. Look at the first 2 lines of utilities. The gas was under budget. The electric was under budget. These aren't going to continue forever, but that's fun to have years like that. And then the 4th line, church maintenance, we budgeted 15,000, we spent 6,700. So those items there kept us, again, part of the reason we were under budget for the year. And if you turn to page 35, compare columns 2 and 3 again at the bottom. This is our biggest category, obviously. That's our staffing. Budget, $460,000. Spent, $462,000. This is always one. This is the biggest category, and if we can stay close on that, and we should, that's always positive. So as I said, at the all in, when you wrap all this up, we ended up $10,000 short, but on $870,000, that was very, very good. Any questions? I did that good. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Gary. We'll see you in a little bit. I would now call on the auditing committee for their report. Refer to page 37. Okay. Do you have any discussion on their audit? Seeing and hearing none, we'll now proceed with a vote on the financial report. All in favor of approving the financial report, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Carried. Okay, I'll now call on Pastor Perry to come forward with our report for the proceeding for the board.
I'll use. So every year we have a number of positions that come open on the boards and the committees, and so I will read the names off to you, and these are the ones that we will be nominating today for these boards and committees. So for president, Archie's term was up, but he is able to run again, and so Archie has agreed to run again as president. For secretary, we have Mickey Harrington. For financial secretary, Bob Brown. For board of trustees, Wayne Schutte and Bruce Nystrom. For board of deacons, Tom Nelson and Susan Kuhlander. For board of children's ministry, Adam Van Gorp. For youth and family ministry board, Kaya Gonerman and Dennis Heimdahl. For the nominating committee, got Norm Olson, Lenny McNay, Katie Furman and Denise Gonerman. Synod delegates, Marcia Young, Dennis Heimdahl, Kari Heimdahl, and Beverly Walsmith. St. Luke's delegates, Marjorie Rolfson and Willem Moeller. And for Ingamokaboji Bible Camp delegates, Pat Gerke and Mary Toonhorse.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations from the floor at this time? Is there a motion that nominations would cease? Is there a second to that motion? All those in favor of nominations ceasing, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Nominations are closed. Is there a motion for casting a unanimous ballot? Okay,
That was a printing error, so we need two, and so it should have been two. So each one should have the right number. So actually, there was an error in the first book that was printed out. So if you got that first book, I've got 7 people that could be on the nominating committee, So what we do is look at the ones who have gone off the boards, and so we chose 4 on there to be on the nominating committee, and then we had labeled the trustees wrong in voting for 1. I think last year we only needed 1, and this year we needed the 2. Any other discrepancies on that one? So if you have the white sheet,
If you have the white
little
sheet,
white
that
sheet would be
preceded,
correct.
or superseded
If
the
some
other.
of the booklets would be wrong. Any other questions on board positions? Okay.
Okay, go back to, is there a motion for casting a unanimous ballot? Boyd Northey makes the motion. Seconded by Marshall Crane. We will now proceed to vote on casting a unanimous ballot. All those in favor of nominations ceasing, please say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. All those in favor of casting the unanimous ballot, please say aye. Opposed, please say nay. It passes. The ballot's completed. Thank you. We'll move on to the proposed budget, and Gary, we'd have you back up again, please.
All right, this time I'll again have you turn to page 33 to start. The second column over from the left, it says 2019 budget at the top. Second column from the right says 2020 budget. The far right column where it says difference, that's the difference between the two budgets, between 19 and 20. So as you go down through the pages, you can see the differences in our budget between the 2 years. I think it would make the most sense just to explain the differences, and then if there's any questions on individual line items, we can do that. So if you, the income budget is always by what we need. So when we get done with our expenses, that's obviously going to be our budget for the income. So we can disregard that category for the moment. Worship and music, if you see that category, far right column, total, just a $1,250 increase there, or decrease there between the 2 years. You can see the components, not much changes. If there's any questions as we go ahead and ask. Office administration, again, bottom of the page, we have a $4,950 decrease there in our budget. These are fun when we can have decreases in our budget. Turn to page 34. Outreach category, read the total there, $950 increase in our budget there. Questions? Discipleship and education, we have a $25 increase in that category. Buildings and grounds, you'll see a $9,500 decrease in budget there. If you see the components, you see the $12,000 item. That was for our heating and air conditioning software that we had to install during 2019. And it's been working much, much better. Is that correct, pastors? We're still on target there. So that was dollars well spent and should provide some future benefit 4 or 5 years, hopefully down the line. Okay. Then turn to page 35. This is our staffing category again. And if you compare the two columns, the far right-hand column at the bottom is a $20,700 increase. We can generalize it by saying that it's a 3% increase to all the paid employees that were here last year. The youth ministry assistant, we have a $4,400 increase on that line, as you can see. And the bookkeeper, we have a $4,500 increase there. When Michelle was here, she was doing a significant portion of her work free gratis. And when we hired Val, she is now a full-time paid employee. Is Michelle here today? No. I'd like to thank her. So if you see Michelle, thank her. But Val, I'd like you to stand up. Val Waters is our new bookkeeper. She's been here since September, and has done a very good job so far. Very, very pleased with the job she's done. So I'd like you to give Val a round of applause. These numbers came from her, not me. I just get to talk about them. So, no, thank you very much, Val. You're doing a great job, all right? So that $20,000 increase, so then if we turn to the last page, we budget, this would be our missions / benevolence, and you can see there that we're $3,000 under what we budgeted a year ago. Last year we budgeted some extra money to go to the synod, and we made that commitment. And so this year we are back to a $72,500 for our missions and benevolence. And our drive-in funds get added in there, so you can see the total for the middle column in 2019 actual was $85,000 that we gave from the church. And then the missions committee also gives some. So our budget there again went down $5,400 for the year. Okay. So overall, our total budget for 2020 at the bottom of page 36, second column from the right, $872,449. Second column from the left, the last year's budget, $869,363. So we're very, very happy that the budgets came out as close as they did, and we're not dealing with any significant increases. Any questions before we go back to Archie? All right. Yes.
Before you approve the numbers, right, but on page 33,
Yep.
office administration, so where it says website bill, that it's an issue with the cell, it didn't carry over as a credit for, so if you look at the difference and add up all of the numbers, it doesn't equal 4950.
Do you need a tax return? Can you help with my tax returns too? Okay, no, good catch, okay? And so the 2019 budget was $4,000, the 2020 budget was nothing for the website build, so that credit should be $4,000, but when you do the math, it's still correct. All right, good catch. Do you work somewhere in administration? All right. Okay, good, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Gary. We want to thank the trustees for the hard work. I got to sit in on the budget this year and the hours that were spent making sure that every dollar that we see in this church is well spent. So I want to thank all of the trustees and Gary in particular, because he keeps us in strict tow. Okay, if there's no further discussion on the proposed budget for 2020, we'll now proceed to vote on the proposed budget. Please take out your green ballot and mark either yes or no.
And if you don't have a green ballot, we'll pass those out to you. All right, looks like we got a lot of passing out to do.
Keep your hands up now,
Yep,
please. They're
raise
starting
your
to hand them
hands
up.
until we've got you. And while we're passing out the green ones, if you don't have this kind of purpley one, we can give you those too. Yep. There's two there, okay. You're good. Okay. You got one. Yep. Yep. So this is the purple one. Well, we will be picking up the ballots a little bit later once we vote on the Constitution. Uh-huh.
Okay, if you didn't hear Perry, we will pick up the ballots after we ballot on the Constitution.
Yeah, they're not really purple. I don't have the right color language. There's one, two.
Okay, as they're passing these out, at our last congregational meeting, if you remember, we approved a constitutional amendment to allow for alternate forms of notification of congregational meeting beyond the United States Post Office. This will be the second vote to ratify the change of notification. Please follow along on the screens as I read the constitutional change to you. Constitution C10.03, change from, notice of all meetings of this congregation shall be given at the services of worship on the preceding 2 consecutive Sundays, and by mail to all voting members at least 10 days in the advance of the date of the meeting. The posting of such notice in the regular mail, with the regular postage affixed or paid, sent to the last known address of such members shall be sufficient. We're going to change to, notice of all meetings of this congregation shall be given at the services of worship on the preceding 2 consecutive Sundays to all voting members at least 10 days in advance of the date of the meeting, by mail or by other accepted notification process. The posting of such notice sent to the last known points of contact of such members shall be sufficient. Is there any discussion on the proposed changes? If not, we will proceed to vote. Please take out the small white, light lavender ballot and vote either yes or no. As you complete them, please hold them in the air. We'll have them picked up. Yes.
Raise your hand if you still have a ballot to be picked up. Yeah, all of them. I'll put that on. I'll take it. Okay,
If you have
everybody
any
has-
ballots left, please raise your hand so we can get them all picked up. Over here, in front.
That's both green and lavender.
Yep,
All of them.
we want
both-
all
both
of them picked up at this point. Everybody good?
That all of them? Okay, our ballot committee will now count them. While they're doing that, I'll call on Pastor Perry to speak on our vision team.
So after the last several months, actually it's probably been close to half a year, we formed a vision team to be looking at the future of First Lutheran, and we've been doing a number of different activities, and one of those was the survey that went out a number of months ago. And Jane Cruz is the chair of that committee, and she could not be here today, so we have a little video report from Jane. So if Jennifer would push the next button, we should have a video that will play. One more.
For those of you that don't know me, I'm Jane Cruz, and I'm the chair of the First Lutheran Strategic Planning Committee. I'm sorry that I'm unable to be with you today, but I did want to give you a quick update and on what our committee has been doing and the results of the recent survey that many of you participated in. In 2019, Pastor Perry invited a few people representing a cross-section of our congregation to begin thinking and talking strategically about where God is leading First Lutheran in the future. I first want to acknowledge the committee members, and so if they're here with you this afternoon, I'm going to ask them to stand as I call their names so that you can recognize them. We have Keith DeKuyvers, Justin Baus, Amanda Furman, Sandy Plagge, Kim Wormerson, Pastor Perry, Pastor Brian, and myself. As I mentioned, Pastor Perry's intention was to get a cross-section of representation on his committee, and I can only think that I was asked to be on the committee to represent the older members of the congregation. As we first began meeting, I have to admit that we struggled a little bit. Everyone on the committee had ideas, good ideas, for where they thought First Lutheran should be going in the future. But it all wasn't really coming together for us until we started realizing that the planning we were doing wasn't and can't be our ideas, but it should reflect God's plans. So did you know that God actually did some strategic planning? He did. He planned ahead by sending his son to die for all the sins for future generations. I want you to think about that for a minute. That's the grandest strategic plan of all. We on our committee were guided by several Bible verses that kind of spoke to us, but for the purposes of time today, I'm just going to share one of those with you. And that's from Proverbs 15:22. It says, "Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed." Many advisors, that's all of you, the congregation. And that's what brings us here today. We had invited the leadership committees and boards to respond to a survey. We also asked congregation members to meet with us between services to do a survey. And we offered the opportunity to just stop in the office and grab a survey, fill it out, and help give us some direction. In that survey, we asked three main questions. We asked, what should we keep doing at First Lutheran? That would show us what you, as a congregation, prioritize. We asked what we should stop doing at First Lutheran. What are things that we're spending resources on, both our time and financial resources, that could be stopped, and then we could use those resources for other things that we should start doing. And third, we asked, what should we start doing at First Lutheran? Where are we being led in the future? So, to summarize what your surveys told us, I'm just going to give you the main themes that emerged as far as what we should keep doing. Now, these are in no priority order. They're just in the order that I remember them. You said we should keep doing the drive-in worship. We should keep the programming, the excellent programming that we have for our youth from pre-K through high school. We should keep the worship experience that we have that includes the awesome music and prayer. We should keep our hospitality and the welcoming spirit that we have at First Lutheran. We should keep working with our J1 ministry. That's working with the international students that are employed in the Lakes region during the summer. We should keep working on and growing our Stevens ministry and our visitation programs. And finally, you said that we should keep up the facilities, the maintenance, and the updating of our physical facilities here. Then you also said some things that we should stop doing. We should stop the neighborhood networks. We should stop our fundraising, at least temporarily, and we should stop the email communications that go out asking for worship assistance. The third thing we asked you was, what are some things we should start doing? You said we should do more mission activities, locally, regionally, and internationally. You told us we should evaluate current staff responsibilities and we should look at expanding staff needs, such as, and again, this is not a comprehensive list, but just as an example, you suggested maybe a volunteer coordinator or a tech support person or an outreach coordinator. You suggested that we should start creating a maintenance fund for future needs of the church's physical plant. Now, I want you to keep in mind that in each of these categories, there were some very specific suggestions that you made. We've kept track of all of them. For example, we got a recommendation that we should pave the remaining parking lot, or we should add lighting to the parking lot, or we should add secure storage for the drive-in. We've kept a list of all of those things, but for our first purposes, we wanted to just see the general themes that emerged from you and then compare them to that mission statement that's up on the wall: gathering to know Jesus, serving to make a difference. How do the results that you told us fit into that mission statement? The next step for our committee includes gathering input from various segments of the Lakes area community. We've identified people in healthcare, in business, law enforcement, social services, and both the Spirit Lake and Okoboji school districts that we'll be meeting with in the coming months. We're going to be asking them what needs they see in our local communities that are not being met, and we're also going to ask them for their perception of First Lutheran Church. Now, I'm guessing that some of you are going to be asking, why are we going outside our church family to do this? The answer is that first, one of the themes that you identified as a priority for what we should start doing was more mission work locally. So that's how we hope to identify the needs of our local mission that are out there. Second, if we hear things in these community conversations such as First Lutheran, where's that? I didn't know there was a church out there. That also tells us something valuable too, that we probably have some more work to do in the area of hospitality, and that's also something that you told us was a priority. This is a wonderful and it's a very valuable exercise, and we thank you for being part of it. As we get further information, we'll give you updates because, as I mentioned, this is a journey that we're taking together, and it's going to be exciting to see where God leads us. I'm going to close with just another response, a verse that we used in our strategic planning. Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it's the Lord's purpose that prevails. May God bless you all, and may you continue to be a blessing too.
That was great. That committee for the vision of our church has done a lot of work and will continue to do a lot of work as this church changes constantly. Let's give a moment and give them a big hand for all their work. Barry?
We have the results. So the budget was approved, 100 to nothing, and the Constitution was approved 99 to 1. So we have passed those two items. At this time, I would like to recognize the staff and the hard work that they do. The staff does a lot of different things, and really appreciate all of the hard work and the dedication that they have that makes this church function the way that it does, and to provide the ministry that we do have. So I guess I'd like you all to line up front here so everybody can see who you are. So no speeches or anything, because there were some who were saying no speeches. So Pastor Brian, Jennifer Johnson, who's up in the tech booth. So I guess I'll let her stay up there. Kim Wormerson, Director of Leadership. Director of Children, Reagan Colt. And I believe she's with the kids, so she's not here. Coordinator of Youth Ministry, we have Lisa Duffy, Katie Furman, and Denise Gonerman. They split that as three of them working together. Our bookkeeper, Val Waters. And Diane McMillan also assists in the office. Is Diane still here? Assists in the office and with some bookkeeping. Director of Development, John Adams. Facility managers, Ron Dix, who is out with knee surgery, and Bruce Liu. And then Norm Olson has been filling in for Ron as he's been out, so we'll have him come forward. Also, Tim Jacobson and Marshall Crane have been helping with keeping our church and our facilities working well. We also have Woody Clausen, who is our Sioux Falls chaplain. So when we have people in the hospital in Sioux Falls, we give Woody a call, and he comes and goes and visits them. We also have volunteer coordinator of Stephen Ministry, which is Carol DeShepper, and she's out of town at this point. And volunteer coordinator of Visitation Ministry would be Helene Vanderwerf. And so this is our staff, and so please give them a large round of applause. Thank you, guys. And Kim and John, you want to stay here for just a second, too. So we still continue to have, John, come on over. We're still working in partnership with Grace Lutheran Church in Primgar. And has that been 6 years now? Starting the 7th year of ministry in Primgar. And so John and Kim and then Marcia Young and Lynn Eggsdahl are the team that works with Primgar. And so they've done a lot of good ministry there. And so let's give them a round of applause also. At this time, I'd like to recognize those who are going off the boards, and we'll have them just stand in place. So Dennis Heimdahl is going off as council secretary. Wayne Schutte is going off as financial secretary. Matt Graves is going off of board of trustees. Board of deacons, Norm Olson and Lenny McNay are going off. Board of Children's Ministry, Susan Gould is going off. Youth and Family Board, Katie Furman and Denise Gonerman are going off. So let us give them a round of applause for their hard work. Thank you. So at this time, I'd like to introduce each of our boards and the people on those boards that make a difference. And so we have Archie Berridge as our president. Mickey Harrington will be our secretary. Keith Deitering is our treasurer. Financial secretary will be Bob Brown. Board of trustees is Bruce Nystrom, Wayne Schutte, Steve Loken, Sarah Frericks, and Gary Peters. Board of deacons, Susan Kuhlander, Tom Nelson, Eric Ostovic, Phyllis Anderson, and Cindy Redmond. Children's Ministry, Adam Van Gorp, Krista Ruse, Tricia Ferguson, Shannon White, and Lisa Peters. Youth and Family of Kaya Gonerman, Dennis Heimdahl, Joy Christians, Dan Antwine, Tricia Pearson, and then we'll leave it at that. So round of applause for them and all of the hard work that they do. I think that's it, Archie.
Let us all please rise, and we'll close with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. That concludes our meeting. We are adjourned. Thank you all for attending.